Hey there guys, second mobility session. Thanks Rich for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Jason's going to be my little demo person today. Not Rich, I couldn't trick him twice into taking like his shirt off or his pants off today. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be working through a few body parts. So hips are a big thing in CrossFit. It will limit squats in terms of just air squats, front squats, back squats, overhead squats, and a whole other bunch of things. And also we're going to be working on a lower back muscle, which tends to fire a lot in a lot of CrossFit. Is called the QL, short for quadratus lumborum. So if anyone's ever got tight lower back and they struggle to touch their toes, they struggle just with tightness, QL is generally the culprit. A lot of people will sit there and go, you know, stretch your glutes out, do this, stretch that, but it could just be a matter of fact of trigger pointing these QL muscles. So if we get Jason over here, we're going to start off with the hips first. So the hips have a few hip flexors. There are your major quad here, which is a hip flexor that helps you do that. Then we have, there's a deep one called psoas, or iliopsoas, and then there's also one in the side called TFL, tensor fascia lata. Now the significance of TFL is the IT band, so the iliotibial band actually originates in that area. So it comes from up here all the way down and attaches down the knee, okay? So lots of people will come in and go, my knees are really, really sore. This is the first place I'll check. They'll go, I'll roll my IT bands out, you know, and it feels good for a little bit, but then they still hurt. You can't stretch fascia. You can't roll fascia, is that correct, Jess? As a massage therapist? Yes. He's been a bit shy. So,
You look very cute there, my big boy.
I'm going to teach you how to trigger point TFL. I've got peanut of pain. We have pyramid of pain, 4 golf balls, 2 tennis balls, and 1 lacrosse ball in a sock. So all kind of hard devices that are going to give some kind of pressure, okay? So the first part of this trigger pointing is called the TFL. Now lots of people struggle to find this muscle, okay? So what you're going to find is your hips at the front, the bony kind of thing at the front, and then you drop down and then out a little bit. Now if you struggle with going, I still can't find it, I want you to put the knee up, and put your finger in it, and you can probably feel that muscle. Am I on the spot there, Jay?
Yeah.
Yep, so, all right. So when you find that muscle, you grab your lacrosse ball or your hard tennis ball or whatever, and you stick it there and you hop down onto the ground. Okay? Just gonna get Jace. Can you see him, guys? I forgot to mention that possibly to start with, what you can do is test with a squat, okay? Test how you go with a squat and you'll feel those tight hips. Like I struggle with depth anyway, and I know my hips are really tight all the time. So Jason's just literally hanging out there for probably 2 minutes, okay? You don't need to roll, you don't need to change your pressures, you just need to kind of lie on it. And where are you feeling that? Like, so there's different referral pain that you'll also feel as well. You might feel it come through to the butt. You might feel it go down the leg. You might feel it going down the front. You might even feel it go down to the ankle.
So I'm feeling a pressure in the TFL from the ball, and then a referral pain to the lateral part of my calf.
So on the outside of the calf. That's absolutely normal, so don't stress about that. People will go, I'm feeling it there, why am I feeling it there? It's just referred pain. So it just gives you an indication of why certain parts of your body hurt, and when you go and see a therapist, they'll attack somewhere totally different of where you think it should be, where you should be getting worked on. All right, so that's 2 minutes of work there. And then we'll get Jason back up. You do that both sides, okay? 2 minutes on both sides, and then we'll get him to retest squat.
Just a normal front squat.
Yep. And it'll either feel better or he'll go, oh, it's not quite there yet. So if it's not quite there yet, there's possibly some other areas that are quite tight. So we're going to look at glutes now. Now glutes are our, particularly glute med is our major pelvic stabilizer. So that's the muscle, sorry Jay, that actually enables us to stand on one leg and stand there with stability rather than doing this whole hip hitch and drop, okay? So if you stand on one leg and that hip drops, your glutes are weak, okay? And if you've got weak glutes, it can cause a hell of a lot of problems. You'll start to get pain in your piriformis, you'll start to get knee pain, ankle pain, a whole bunch of different pain. So glutes are honestly one of the, pardon?
Yeah, I've got all of that.
Oh, so
Is that Linda?
We need to work on strengthening glutes, okay? And there's one is you got to trigger point them and release them and stretch them, and then you got to strengthen them, okay? So once again, you can either get any one of these three modalities to use those glutes, to trigger point those glutes, okay? So first of all, the glutes are, we've got three glutes. We've got glute min, glute med, glute max. Glute max is the major glute muscle that extends the hip. Then we have glute med, and then we have glute min, okay? So glute med is the major pelvic stabilizer. So to find that, once again, I'll get Jason on the ground.
Behave yourself, Jason.
How do you want me?
I want you to find your glute. So
Oof, that looks nasty.
he's just sitting on it, and it's, what you'll find is you're not sitting on it on the middle of the butt, you're actually sitting on it a little bit higher, okay? They're called your high glutes. And as you can see, he's kind of on a diagonal. And you've
Rotate my hip a little.
and he's rotated his hip a little bit. So what you'll find is instead of sitting like that, he's done that.
Oh, is to drop the knee out.
Yeah, drop the knee out. So 2 minutes again on each side.
Oof.
2 minutes yet?
No, 2 minutes in trigger point time feels like it's an hour. Microsoft time.
You getting any referral pain there, Jay? Just
No, it's
directly
all,
isolated.
All local, yeah. So sometimes glute med pain, once again, you'll feel it kind of go down the leg. You might feel it in the piriformis again and stuff like that. So, and then he's now rotating a little bit on his side to get a little bit more of glute min, okay? Now that muscle, seriously on every CrossFitter that I've worked on is super fiery because we don't work on them. Now Rich has been working a lot through this ROMWOD app, which is awesome, and been doing a few glute stretches. So after you've trigger pointed, what you can actually do is do a few glute stretches. Across the leg, so you cross that leg over and you either hug it up, which I'm feeling immediately down there, but then you can actually add a little bit of a rotation into it. So you can actually use your other hand to pull your knee towards your shoulder and then rotate. It's a really nice glute stretch.
Shar, I also just wanted to say, because we're so limited to time in classes, and this is for you guys as well, is that the 2 minutes is such a good length of time. We often just we'll do 20 seconds to 30 seconds because we time poor, but the
Yeah.
2 minutes makes a massive difference.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
just important to note that those 2 minute holds are really good, really important.
It feels like it's a really long time, but that's where you're going to get your benefits.
Yeah.
And then you change sides, okay? So
How's that feeling there now, Jay?
It's sore.
Yeah.
he needs work.
He needs work.
So after you've trigger pointed and you've stretched, you can retest again. So you'll feel those squats. How does that feel?
Easy.
Easier
Yeah.
on that side than the other side?
It looked really good as well. Nice, Jay.
So it just kind of dropped into that squat. Drop it like a squat.
Drop it like a squat, Jay.
Yeah. So now this brings me on to that piriformis, okay? So piriformis is the yucky muscle that most people will sit there and go, they'll come into me and say, Shar, I have sciatica. And I'm like, do you really have sciatica? And they'll go, well, it feels like sciatica. What I mean by that is you'll get this pain that refers from that lower back all the way through your butt and all the way, like possibly to the knee, to the ankle, shin, and it's this deep throbbing nerve pain, and it is horrible. Now, a good way to test that is, one, you want to test glutes to see if they're working. So generally I like to do a single leg squat, and what I want to see is what these hips are doing. So, and you'll see it immediately whether someone's glutes are switching on or not. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll just get them to bend forward, and they'll go, oh my God, it feels really, really tight on this side, down this hamstring. And it's like, okay, well, let's have a look at your straight leg raise. So I'll get them into a straight leg raise, and then I'll rotate the hip around. Actually, I'll just check that on Jace. Lie on your back for me.
Can you guys see okay there?
Yeah.
So
Just
I
tilt
get
the
Jason
camera just a little bit.
onto my bed, and then I'll
We are running a
straight leg
Zoom
raise,
class here at the same time, so
and then I'll pull that
toe down.
heel down, and he'll tell me whether it hurts or not, and he did. And then I would check hip range. So I'd check flexion, external rotation, and internal rotation. Now, external rotation is where you'll really feel it or not. So, and I'll retest on both sides. Then I'd get Jason to sit up, and we'd do a neural kind of test. So neural flossing is something that is extremely beneficial to any one of us. So I've got Jason sitting on the edge of a bed or chair or wherever where his feet can dangle, and I'd have him bring his knees as close together as possible, hands behind his back, chin to chest. You getting any pain there?
No.
Put those toes up towards your nose, any pain? And then I'd get him to slump as if he had no posture at all, okay? Any pain there?
Just tight.
Just tight. Where
Tight
are you feeling it?
hamstrings.
So if he's feeling it in here, you know he's going to be neurally tight. So then I'd put a little bit of pressure on there and on his back. Now I wouldn't do this to someone who has back pathology, okay? I would not put pressure on them. Then I'd get Jason to straighten both of those legs up for me.
Oh,
He can't even straighten his
Yeah,
legs. Now,
that's
someone
brutal.
with neural tightness would not be able to straighten their legs.
That's a good one there,
Someone
Shar.
without neural tightness would be able to straighten all their legs up and go, I feel fine, I feel fantastic. All right. So this is where the neural gliding comes in. So we're
I
in,
do it every day.
No, he doesn't.
Sure
So-
you do, Jay.
Now this takes a bit of coordination.
Yeah.
But believe me, it's worth it when you get it, okay? So we would go back into that slump position. And what I want you to think about is legs up, heads up, okay? So as your legs are coming up, your chin is coming up. And as you can see, Jason's legs go from not being able to straighten to fully straighten because he's taken that nerve off tension, okay? Now legs down, head down.
Head up, legs up, eh?
Yep.
Awesome.
Follow those legs, okay? And what you want to try is 15 minimum. So we'll get Jason to do 15. And what I want you to think about is flossing your teeth. So when you floss your teeth, that floss goes in and out like that. That's what we're basically and effectively doing with that nerve through your piriformis. Now piriformis is very significant because in 92% of people that sciatic nerve runs through it. And the other 8% it's very close to it or near it, okay? Good. So that's 15. So we're now going to retest. So chin down, head down, toes pointed up, and straighten those legs up. So he's gone from not being able to straighten his legs to now being able to straighten his legs. Now, he's still going to have tightness there.
Oh, that's a big
just
difference, man.
15 flosses, okay? Stand up. Now, let's just do another squat. And what you'll find is even just bending forward, everything will feel looser, like it's just a little bit looser. So I would suggest to do that neural flossing twice a day, when you wake up and when you go to bed. The only time I would not suggest doing it is if you've got back pathology that hasn't been checked. So make sure you get that checked out first. So if you know you've got a chronic back pain or you've got a back history, make sure you get assessed first through your therapist on whether you should do that or not. Because what you don't want to do is irritate that nerve. And once nerves are heightened, they're really unforgivable. Does everyone understand that?
Yep.
Yep, give that a go, seriously. It's my go-to. Next thing is a piriformis stretch. You can do this three ways. Piriformis stretches is also commonly known as a pigeon stretch in yoga. And we do this all the time. Now, I cannot do the pigeon pose because I've got terrible knees and they just do not like to bend. Jason's not the most flexible either, but we'll just use him today. So,
Come on, Jay, this is your moment to shine, bull.
so what we want to do is put that leg into an external rotation position. It looks like it's an internal rotation, but it's actually externally rotating that hip, okay? So generally in people that are a bit more flexible, that leg would come into a 90-degree bend or an angle, okay? And then that back leg goes out. So start off like that first, and then eventually what you can do is come down onto your elbows. Jason's not going to be able to do that today.
He's doing a good job. Well done, Jay.
So you've got to breathe through this one, okay? And what I don't want you to do is to overstretch that piriformis. Because once again, that piriformis is very close to that sciatic nerve. So if you overstretch it, you're going to irritate that sciatic nerve. You're also going to irritate the tendons that attach to the bone out here, which is where piriformis attaches to. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is on your bottom. Now this one's my favourite way to do it. And you want to put that leg up like that. Now to bring that stretch on, you just walk your bottom to your feet. Try and keep that back as straight as possible, and then you push that knee downward. Okay, once again, breathe into this, don't overstretch. It actually also looks like you're not doing anything, so you can just relax and watch everyone else suffer as well. So once again, 2 minutes on each side. Now if you don't want to get down on the ground, if you feel like you need to stretch piriformis and you've got a chair, you can also do it sitting. Okay, so once again, we're sitting like this, our leg down. So this position, what we want to do is make sure we're really tall and that we bend from our belly button, not our neck, okay? So there's a big difference between bending from our neck and then bending from our belly button. If you try both, you'll feel the big difference in that stretch. So this one's just such a, like I love this one too, because once again, you can do it when you're watching TV, when you're at your desk working, or if you just simply don't want to get down onto the ground. So once again, 2 minutes on each side. Now there's some people that find it very difficult to get their leg up here. So what you can do is straighten that leg up and you'll still get a stretch. But once again, you have to make sure you're bending from that hip, that belly button, not that back, okay?
That's a really good position there.
There's also one other way to do that, and that's standing. So you can actually just do it standing like that. And you can actually do it as a dynamic stretch to really get piriformis, glutes and everything starting to fire off at once, okay? It's a really good prep for those hips when we have a workout where you've got lots and lots of squats. So that's the hip. So you can actually sit on a chair, put the ball right in the middle of the butt, and then you sit down. Yeah, it is painful if you've got a fiery piriformis.
Works like a bomb though.
It does.
You've
yeah.
helped me with that a lot in the
This
past.
one,
Eh?
and then you can actually just almost do a bit of a myofascial release on it by lifting that leg up and down or that knee up and down.
The pivoting in and out of,
Yeah. With that pressure on it. But once again, don't overdo it because that sciatic nerve runs through it or very near it, okay?
I think I started with a tennis ball and then eventually,
Yeah.
so tennis ball worked well for me, Linda, and then I went on to a harder ball later.
Yeah.
But,
Tennis ball has a bit of a give in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's actually quite nice, yeah. Lots of people say spiky ball.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I'm a fan of spiky balls in certain situations, but not to sit on it. It's way too much.
Yeah.
And you'll most likely not do it. You'll do it once and go, that was way too sore. So use something that you know you're going to use. And that's probably, so something that you know is not going to hurt you. All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about that QL, okay?
Yep.
So QL is...
Quadratus lumborum.
So QL is these muscles here on the side, okay? So it attaches to, can you see us? Yep. It attaches to the 12th rib, the iliac spine, which is the pelvis, and the spine, okay? And it's quite a long muscle, and it goes down this way, okay? And what this muscle does is it helps us laterally flex, but it also globally stabilizes our back, okay? So a lot of people who sit, it's a global stabilizer in sitting. So once again, if your glutes are not firing and your hamstrings aren't doing the job, your lower back takes the job over. And this is where people go, oh, I'm just so tight, and then they'll stretch and they'll sit there and go, I just need some work done. QL is the muscle that I will first try and have a look at. Now the best way to find this is if you were to put your hands on your hips or into your waistline. So it's almost in line with your belly button, and then you move your thumbs backwards, and then you kind of almost push in sideways into that QL. You'll find it, okay?
It's very prominent when you get to it.
Yeah, you'll find it. If your QL's really, really triggery and fiery, it won't take you long to find it. So that's the best way to find it. And then you grab your ball, your peanut of pain or your pyramid of pain, and you hold it there. And then you have to get down on the ground. So,
You ready, Jay? I need to
Jay's
form the
doing
facial
this
expressions.
work.
It's really tough to get.
It is a really hard spot to get. So if you can't find it, don't stress, okay? Because there are some other ways that you can do to stretch it. Like I know where to find it because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's if you've never done it before yourself, it's actually quite a hard muscle to find. So now, if you are on the right muscle, you will feel it, and it will refer down to your bum and everywhere. Are you getting any referral there?
Can you feel that, Marianne? You might have to shift around a little bit.
On your diagonal a little bit, so almost look up to the ceiling. Yes, yeah, that's the way. Cool. All right, so now if you can't find it trigger pointing, we can stretch it. All right, so there are a couple of stretches that we can do. So if you can sit on your bottom, Jay.
Which way?
Legs apart. Now, if you're inflexible, you'll feel this straight away. So if we're going to be stretching this left QL, we're going to be reaching over to the right, okay? But you want to kind of reach down to your toes. And you feel this big stretch through here. Okay? Are you feeling that?
Yes.
Yes. Good job,
Now,
Jay.
if you feel like you're not very flexible in this position, we can do it standing as well. So we come over to the rig. Now, our outside leg goes behind and onto the rig, okay? So you're kind of almost connecting with there, and this front leg goes across, and then we reach across and push this hip that way. It looks very uncomfortable, but it's really, really nice. Now, if you don't have a rig or something to hold on to, you can then use a wall, okay? So once again, that front leg or the outside leg goes behind, and then you just reach over like that. Remembering to use your breath.
That's a really nice stretch.
2
Awesome.
minutes. 2 minutes. Did everyone see that one?
Yeah.
Cool. So be super careful with that one, okay? Because if you move too quickly, you're gonna actually irritate facet joints, okay? And then you're gonna come to me and say, Shar, what did you make me do? I've hurt my back now. So you've got to be super careful on both sides when you're going, okay? And stretch that out. Then we can do it in a hip flexor QL stretch as well. So we do this a lot in class, okay? So we're talking about pelvic tilting here. So we've got, a lot of people don't know how to pelvically tilt, and they don't know how to do the hip flexor stretch properly. So to do a hip flexor stretch properly, we have to posteriorly tilt that pelvis, okay? So imagine your pelvis as a cup. So we want to either tip it forward, and we're tipping the water out forward, which is an interior tilt, which is duck bum, or we want to tip the fluid backwards, which is a posterior tilt, which is flattening off that back. Okay, and you're squeezing your butt, you're flattening off. That's the position we want to be in when we're in a lunge position, okay? So we're down in that lunge, and we're getting our cup and we're tilting it backwards. So we're tilting it backwards, and immediately I'm feeling a stretch in that hip flexor. I don't even need to lunge forward to put that on the stretch. So if you've got tight hip flexors, this is what you need to be doing, okay? So you tilt and you lunge a little bit forward, and with the leg that is down, you reach on over. Now you can either use both hands, or I like to use one just to balance, and what you'll feel is a stretch through QL, TFL, and hip flexor. You're killing 3 birds with 1 stone there.
Awesome.
And it's a really nice stretch, okay?
That's a really nice way to explain it with the cup. That's great.
Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. Now, if you want to practice it, either practice it on the floor to flatten your back, or on a wall. But what you want to try and do is not move that upper body, okay? When you're trying to tilt that pelvis. Last but not least is a QL strengthening exercise, okay? Now, what I didn't explain to you before is muscles get tight because generally they're weak or fatigued, okay? So they get fatigued because they don't have enough endurance. So then all of a sudden you'll start to get issues with tendons, like you'll get hip bursitis, hip tendonitis, tennis elbow, shoulder, rotator cuff problems, all because muscles aren't strong enough. Now QL to strengthen, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can do it standing on a platform, or you can do it hanging, okay? Can you tilt that over? So what you want to find is a platform that you can actually just get enough leverage that there's a leg-length discrepancy, okay? And what you want to do is you actually just want to hitch and lower that hip.
So you're dropping the hip
Yeah.
towards the floor,
Yep.
and then lifting.
Lifting it up.
Got you.
Okay? So we're actually strengthening this QL.
Sorry
And it
guys.
seems very, very basic. But it's a really, really nice
Just
way
watching
to
the
start.
angle of the,
learn
or
how
rather
to do that
height of the
kick.
hip changing up and then down.
Down.
It's coming up and then down. Nice straight line of action as well.
Yep. Now, if you can't get it, and a lot of people cannot do that hip hitch, what you can do is try with it hanging. And it's almost like you're doing,
Lifting the
bum
hip from
wiggle.
side to side, yeah.
yep,
Like a dance move.
yeah.
Mate, that is like, do you like that move, Jay?
Yeah. It's like pole dancing.
Yeah.
Can everyone see what my hips are doing there?
Yeah, so the hip is elevating from left to right and straight up towards the armpit.
Yeah, so that's actually a really nice strengthening exercise.
Knee is
for
not
that
bending.
QL. And it's really non-aggressive as well. So if you can't figure out to do that, then try that. Now if I could draw anatomy on your back, you would see what that muscle is doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you're hitching that hip up, that QL is shortening. Then as you're hitching down, you're lengthening it. Okay.
Awesome.
So that's just a really nice one to do. So if you suffer from lower back tightness all the time, and massage therapists, physical therapists, osteo, chiro, whatever, always releases it, and that's what you have to go back to release. Start doing some strengthening work on it. It's the key to keeping your body nice and strong, nice and flexible, and it's just management. So, so has anyone got any questions at all?
I think that was really beautifully done, Shar. We're going to start to implement all of these accessories into classes as well when we come back, just to remind everybody.
I know I went through a lot in that class, but just remember TFL, glutes, piriformis. Okay, they're your hip ones. We haven't even looked at adductors, but that's another story. And then QLs, okay? So if you can work through all that stuff, you're actually gonna fix a few things up. You could potentially fix knee problems up and lower back problems up, okay? So if you work through all of those trigger point areas. Now, once again, on YouTube, if there's any questions, if you don't understand something, just either comment or message or message me. I'm very happy to answer.
Thank you very much to Shar for an awesome session. We'll post this up on the Facebook group, and then I think we got such good feedback the last time where people went onto the video and were sliding backwards and forwards through the movements, and now using that really successfully. So do the same with this, guys. As we said before, maintenance is super important as opposed to trying to fix things all the time. So Shar is big on making sure you add this into a consistent program through the week in terms of mobility. So big thank you, Shar. Thanks so much for your time today. All right, guys.